I guess I'll speak from the standpoint of both, the founder and director of the Massachusetts School Mental Health Consortium, where I work with close to 150 districts across the state, and also, boots on the ground in Methuen, where I'm working with about 40, school-based mental health staff members across 5 schools to be able to support kids in a comprehensive way, and with the teachers, for sure. I looked, around Massachusetts, and I looked at my colleagues in neighboring districts, and there was still a massive amount of need. We felt great about our work in Methuen, but I felt like the onus was on us to share what we had learned. The Massachusetts School Mental Health Consortium was really an attempt at replicating some of the experiences we had with the National Center for School Mental Health in Massachusetts. So it started with a group of 30 districts at Methuen High School. It grew really, really fast from there. So people were really excited about and needing to engage in resource sharing and collaboration around this topic, and we continue to grow. Everything's free, and all are welcome. So we don't charge anyone to be a part of this network. It's really designed to provide professional development, coaching, resources, support, networking around school mental health, and really advancing the efforts across Massachusetts. Some of the work that we do, some of the presentations and training that we offer does focus on like cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's not something I would ask like a teacher to do. However, I'm certainly going to ask a teacher to implement CBT technique into their classroom. I think we need to continue to invest in school-based mental health. Ultimately, 75 to 80% of all services for kids happen in schools. It is the case that schools are already providing the most services to kids around mental health already. So we got to own that, but we also have to like champion that and resource that. So I think that when we take seriously the fact that schools are the prevention arm of the mental health system writ large, then we can have a true prevention model. For the most part, unfortunately, our mental health system writ large is sensitive to 2 things: diagnosis and crisis. And that's not a great public health model. If we ever want to foster prevention, we need to leverage those uniquely positioned systems, schools, such that we can engage in things like universal screening and orient to emerging concerns, problems when they're smaller. The national average wait time for services, once you start to develop symptoms of a mental health problem, is 8 to 10 years. We don't orient to prevention. We should. If you don't have a person like me in your district, then it's typically the case that clinical staff, school counselors, school social workers, school psychologists, adjustment counselors, they're being supervised and evaluated by incredibly well-meaning associate principals who have no clinical background, who have no counseling background. And what does that lead to? Well, it leads to inefficiencies. It leads to not effectively leveraging the staff that you already have in buildings. It leads to people really not having the direction that they need to be able to provide services effectively. And accountability too. The training programs that teachers go through, the educator preparation programs, really need to orient to this need, because it's not the case that we're talking about a handful of kids in a school. We're talking about massive swaths of the population. And that if we want effective instruction, if we want effective teaching to happen, we need to take care of students first. We have to invest in their well-being before we expect them to engage in high-level academics. And on the front lines of that, we have teachers who are going to need to be able to orient to kids' needs if they want them to achieve academically. I don't have to have any other reason to promote mental health. Mental health is good because it's good, right? I do know that mental health and an investment in mental health results in lots of other outcomes. Academic outcomes improve, post-secondary matriculation improves, behavior decreases, criminal behavior decreases. We've got all the outcomes that schools care about are mediated by mental health. And if we are aware of that, then investment in mental health is a magic bullet that ultimately impacts positively all the outcomes we care about.